Afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for the chance to have a chat. I'm calling in from Mindoro Occidental, part of the chance to help get the economy going again. We'll put it that way. But hey, it is all about cities everywhere, all across the nation, all over the world. The resilience that the issues that they're facing with storm surges and pollution, congestion, and of course this entire very difficult pandemic that we're going through, and how technology is a very important piece of this solution ahead, and that it's something that everyone on this call, every developer, every architect, every student can be a part of. So today, it's not about my company, it's not about my work. You can read about our sustainable legacies at acom.com. And it's certainly not about me. I have other places you can connect with me and some of the things that we're doing. But today it's about you, and more specifically about you and your role in the middle of this confluence of cities and technology and resilience. And when you think about it, cities, wherever you are, Davao or in Cebu or in Manila, right? People have been coming for thousands of years to the cities to find opportunity. And when you find opportunity, it means growth and potential for your families. A lot of the big landed gentry may have been out in the haciendas everywhere, but the real trading were in the Binondos and the Ongpins, right? And places like that, or down by the river where you could trade fish and make connections. And it's those little social pockets that really has helped cities thrive. The most successful cities are the ones where trade and prosperity become connective to other cities as well. And you'll see that it's in the little alleys and the small pop-up stands and the ancestors of the sari-sari stores all around that were accessible to others who were living right next door. That's what made cities possible. And that's where small businesses became big businesses. And when we do master planning, we think about all these brand new, shiny, fancy buildings and new streets and trees and so forth. It's a very deliberate act to make sure that we have enough space and parcels for what happens in the little alleys, the meandering streets, the little informal places where creativity, the next star chef or the next artist or the budding filmmaker or so forth. That's where that creativity flourishes, because it can't afford any place else, right? And so a city's got to have that fabric, that successful framework that allows you to be the best version of you, or the whatever you want to do to create a career or to create art or to create a family or create prosperity. That's where it happens. And so what do we need to design into these places? We need to design in serendipity of the diversity that you get from different people coming together, different types of uses, no longer the monolithic single land use plan of residential versus office versus industrial. People are making things where they live. The people are selling things where they live. People are doing online bits to create commerce and doing online bits of staying connected with friends and networks, all in the same places these days. And in the middle of that, a place to breathe and to exercise and to relax. So we're defying categorization, right? There's no more, it's got to be this kind of land use. And that abundance of choice for consumers, citizens as consumers, is critical for a city. And a good master plan gives its locators, the people who vote with their feet, by moving to these cities, it gives them access to customers. So a great master plan, when you think through what our professions might be, whether you're designing at a single building level or you're designing at a city level, provides just enough of the essentials, sustainably, power, water, the right parcel sizes, the right green networks and access, and the right choice of mobility. And then kind of gets out of the way. I mean, this is not you know this is not a kind of profession for those who really want to seek the glory. You know, I'm sure that 20 years from now, folks who are living in New Clark City they're not going to really care actually who designed or master planned the city, but the fact that people are prosperous there, that's success. You know? Take a look at what we did in Jurong Innovation District, right? This is in Singapore, and the key there, with all the cool underground service tunnels and high-tech districts and the campus integration and academia and so forth. At the end of the day, it was about bringing people together, attracting talent. And Singapore's done a very big effort in policy to attract talent with funding, with academic exposure, with backing from the government, for an ease of starting businesses that is at the heart of what drives Jurong Innovation District. I wish I could say that the district was successful because of its physical design aspects. You know, that'd be, you know, a great pat on the back for my team. But no, that is a piece of the puzzle, and it allows for people to be their best, and that's why it's important. You know, doing these master plans, we always think about the ports, how things come in and out, not just goods these days, but think of the broadband port, right? The kind of connectivity that creates jobs. And when you create jobs, you know, an airport master plan like you see on the screen right here is here. I can't tell where I am on the screen anymore. There, right there. That you know, you take a look at these sort of different types of mixes of uses that come out in over time, and when you look at operations and understand how an airport works, you understand that it's people coming, but it's also a city in itself with tens of thousands of people fueling the planes and cleaning and doing the loading and unloading of cargo, but also right next door setting up new businesses around marketing and packaging, or certifying vegetables before they go on the underbelly of the. There's so many different jobs that are created in these places, and that's what's gotten me very excited about, you know, doing sustainable infrastructure, is because that's the enabling component of all of these cities. And so as we start talking through all these pieces that really make a city tick, the jobs, the infrastructure, the connectivity, both within the city, of people being able to walk and not having to jump on a truck or a car to bring goods. You know, look at what happens when you have a factory, and a factory is essentially like conveyor belts, right? You have different pieces. Now, today's factories are spread all over the world, right? The value chain, the supply chain are dispersed. And it's one of when we talk to locators and industrial folks, they say that's one of their biggest headaches, is getting all these pieces to come together. So transport delays and cost and everything, and even bouncing around components becomes a problem. So this is where, you know, bringing talent together and bringing supply chains together so that you're reducing the friction of transport, especially in this pandemic, has become such an important element of what we do. And then most importantly is letting nature, you can hear nature here behind me, work. And that's why I'm in places like this to call in and chat with you all, because I just want to remind you that it is about working well with the natural elements, whether it is normal stresses like rains and winds and so forth, or the big shocks like the earthquakes and the storms and typhoons and things that we're seeing a lot more of. And if you let nature work through there, it's partly what attracts talent. It partly is nature-based engineering that reduces your capex on a new city. And of course, it provides that really distinct identity of a place that you can't get anywhere else. And at the end of the day, it's all competition. but like a collaborative competition. And cities are competing with each other to see who really connects. So here, I'm back. So cities are under threat. Sitting here in the Philippines, we're in the middle of it all, right? Ring of fire, all the typhoons that run through, all the earthquakes, all the severe storms, the pollution, the congestion that I always talk about, robbing us of 7% of the GDP of the nation. And through all of these different types of big challenges, sea level rise, that could inundate so many of the cities that we know today. Those of you sitting in Manila and Pasay, it's one of the big reasons you get so much of the flooding, because we're right down there. And these shocks and stresses, they form the resilience issue that everyone's talking about, everyone's trying to solve. But it's not just natural issues, it's the risks of things of societal change, right? Economic evolution, automation, technology that is moving us toward robotics instead of just manual labor, and then the resulting inequities, the lack of opportunities, the endemic, the systemic economic stratification that happens in a lot of our societies, the waste, the sheer pollution, and the plastic we send to the ocean, the waste we bury in the ground to not be able to use that land again, and then the tactical crises, right? The things that are in the air, literally. This kind of stress, I said it before, when we're congested, that's 7% of the GDP. When the streets are clear because we're all locked out in home, it's close to 10% or more of the GDP being lost. But here and across Southeast Asia, I think we have this really amazing gift of demographics. This is a country where, with so much underbanked, right? We've got 60-70% with no bank accounts, but yet over 60% using smartphones, right? And so I think what we got here is this kind of perfect opportunity to take these challenges and turn them into opportunities. Like I said 2 words out. Anyway, here we are. Here's a quick look at where we are on the per capita carbon dioxide emissions, right? Way down there, because our capita is very high, of course, right? Singapore, Hong Kong, UK around the same, and the United States we don't. It's just ridiculous. But when you look at it, sort of actual carbon emissions, look at us versus Hong Kong and Singapore. We are, at least almost 4 times, almost halfway there to the United Kingdom. That's a lot of emissions, and a lot of it comes from the concrete that we use, the energy that is only 20% renewable right now. And so, there are tactical defenses to these challenges of resilience, right? You've got flood barriers, you've got flexible buildings, you've got do more renewable energy, you've got a number of physical things that you've all learned about in school, or you're executing as architects in the field. But I'd like to think beyond the tactical, right? I want to think beyond just what you can do in hardware, and think about software. And think about the defenses and the ways of working with resilience by understanding it. And that's where data comes in, right? Modeling, and then using that to design better defenses. And then sometimes it's not just defending, but adapting. And then innovating, right? Innovating, we're creating all sorts of very cool artificial reefs now through multiple efforts, through pH balance, really sustainable building materials, not your traditional concrete, or even doing electrolysis in the water to create aggregates, to create these living reefs to form surge barriers. But of course, the most important element out of all of this are natural defenses, nature-based mangrove restoration, and so forth. Because governments, there's no money these days from fighting all sorts of other very pressing issues. And so for us, It's up to designers and planners and influencers to be very smart about creating value, about capturing value in the work that we do, the designs that we create. You'll see like this, everything that we do now, we have a whole program called Scope X. We are helping every project that we do, we're trying to reduce the carbon footprint by 50%. It's not when the developers ask for it. It is for every single project, understanding. And so we have to have metrics, right? In order to design in and embody and embed economic resilience, sort of passing on the torch and generating learning opportunities for our clients and for our customers. That's when we can get some real change. That's when you get not just 20% savings from great efficiencies that we're gaining, but 20 times growth and value gain. That's what we're looking for. I think that's what all developers are looking for. And this is where these smaller parcels and blocks, more perimeter for more storefronts, more choice for walking, more green infrastructure, and even something as simple as having a few more normal geometries, save your special moves for just the right place. That becomes more inclusive as a design. The resilience comes from the ability to allow anybody, especially the creators who can't afford, all the, beautiful, special buildings that we love to design. Sometimes we just need to design simple places with lower carbon footprint, that are more energy efficient, that use less concrete, that use more local materials that are passive in their cooling. When we did a study once for in Australia, we calculated that a mixed timber and concrete building versus just a concrete building would yield 30% less carbon emissions, not just in the embodied side, but also across the lifetime and the life cycle of its operation. And it turns out that import and transport was a mere 3%. So if there's sustainably harvested wood from somewhere that we can create and support and bring over because of palletized economies of scale and so forth, it's accessible. And this accessibility and inclusivity, anticipating the needs of our customers, but also anticipating things like the rain that's now coming down behind me. That's part of good design and helps us with inclusive resilience. So how do we get it right, though? There's a lot of good talk and great ideas. At the end of the day, that's where the technology comes in, because technology, with whether it's prop tech, or climate tech, or infra tech, construction tech, smart cities, there's the neat gadget part of it, but I think more fundamentally is the data, right? The data that comes out allows you to measure and achieve outcomes, more informed, risk-managed outcomes, to reduce your CapEx, your life cycle OpEx, to increase your revenue and the value gain of your properties, to be a more inclusive customer experience, and therefore, gain a lot more footfall and repeat visitors. Those are the kind of outcomes that come from things like, the early phases, planning and strategy, where you harness geospatial analytics and all these different tools you see on the right side here. These analytics give you a sense, where do you want to build? How do you capture good market? The second side, which is around the building side and the designing side, right? GIS, BIM, but also the cost and carbon calculations that are necessary to make really good decisions. You start to see the beginning of digital twinning, virtual version of so you can test scenarios. And that lets you do things right the first time, right? Deploy your capital the right way. Model the facades, for example, to make sure that it's actually working. And then when you get to build this, the construction management tech, materials marketplaces to reduce that friction, electronic paper, and for the real estate industry, digital permitting is a huge opportunity to reduce a lot of the friction. And we have a lot of tools, of course, to be able to do that. Tools like energy calculators, and management tool, facilities management tools, helps with capital planning. And that fintech side is so important to what we do. Uh, you might know I've started a small mobile banking fintech. I'm getting, I'm a city planner, architect. What do I know about banking and finance? But I know it's a core to unlocking opportunity for our customers and for our cities to be able to do the great things that we see are possible. So mortgage finance tools, digital payments, online brokerages and rental payment apps, all those things are part of our solution set. And if it helps us as designers, it makes us more responsible for sure. And then of course, there's the technology at the end of the day, which is managing the properties, reducing your OPEX, making sure you can report good carbon metrics and good green sustainable tools, and if they're really working or not. Maintaining them are as important as implementing them in the first place. And then finally, there's a whole section of technology which is super exciting, and that's around the tokenization blockchain space. Because to unpack all that really is to get down to the basics, which is we get flooded out all the time. The kind of impact that has for a family who is not occupying titled land, who's in a informal house, is that they're starting over from zero every time. And the longer vision that's possible with blockchain is the ability to create digital assets and digital title. And when you can take away the physical asset building, homeowner equity building, from being tied to just those kinds of lands that are always subject to resilience issues, flooding or landslides and so forth. Families all the way down to the most basic families who are doing subsistence living and can never kind of get out of the water. So the water's always here, treading water. The ability to build toward a better future. And it's through that's why I'm so excited about tokenized title or fractionalized ownership, letting people invest in multiple places like a digital REIT of sorts. Right? The immersive customer experience that you get with VR and so forth, all those online, that's all very fun. And that's always good technology coming, but it's the transformative power of digital assets that I think are going to be one of the key technologies coming forward. Whew. Yeah, sorry, that's a long one. I'm catching my breath for a moment. Let me get up. Hold on. You catch your breath too. Look, okay. Look. Bottom line, cities, technology, resilience, and you at the center of this. We can't improve what we can't measure. All well and good to design and think of the great experiences, but we cannot measure that for which we have no data. And you see here in the background here is a little bit of the data that we were able to use with thinking machines here in the Philippines. They harness Waze data so that we could look at Poblacion and understand what's really happening on the ground. And through that, here's another example in the Bay Area where I'm from, Berkeley. And you see all this data now as we restart all of this transit networks. And these transit networks are now, they are being restarted and stitched together, 24 different transit agencies, and made better by understanding the underlying demographics, socioeconomic impact. On the right you see GIS and ridership information. Now, who really needs the transit? So it's not just a little, game of, where is it easier to put all this transit network? Now it's understanding who needs to be served and how to connect them. That data is at the heart, again, of enabling these folks, the creators in our society, to have access and to build outsized value. Your 20x value gain is not going to come from traditional developers. I'm sorry to say, it's going to be coming from the next unicorns. We got to leverage that. We got to be able to, as a society, leverage our most creative folks, give them the foothold or the handhold so that they're lifting entire society up. And that's the other exciting side of resilience of our communities through technology. So I'm asking today the design industry to shake loose those cobwebs, right? To sort of embrace working with each other to share information. Life is short. We are no longer, having to protect our genius and just, so, it's just the domain of my little small group, my atelier, my studio, and you come and hire us because we have some secret sauce that nobody else has. That's great, but I think our greater role as creative thinkers and problem solvers is about community and purpose and leadership and sharing ideas and getting those things. That's why I put everything down. I don't know how much longer I'm gonna. Maybe I'll go and do my mobile bank. I'm kidding. Not really. But anyway, all these pieces of society and what we're doing for society, planning, designing, constructing, helping people, consumers to acquire their first homes, the operations of these hotels and malls and airports and all that, the customer experience of that's in our hands. And when I talk about technology, it's not about losing the human touch, right? Design is still human activity, but that judgment can be made so much more powerful, more impactful if we are armed with evidence and data. And so, I hate to say it, me too, I've been very selfish all these years, kind of hiding how we do our work and how we know as sort of some protected domain of a profession. And so I'd say our passions, your passion, too important to hide away. It's about articulating what we know in sustainable, measurable metrics so that others can also create really great impact. And that empowers tomorrow's designers, empowers tomorrow's society and cities and communities and consumers. And that's what I'm really, really excited about, sharing this thought process so that it brings all your clients onto the same side of the table, actually releases you from this sort of, did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? It's not about who got the right answer by themselves. Right? We can do this together. And by doing it together, by asking the questions together about how we create impact, the old Ayn Rand, the mythical architect, hard work is dead. Long live how we work and how we work together. And we is important. That's the key word. The collaboration, the shared ideas, this collective success, when you're talking about fractionalized ownership, it's fractionalized ownership of great ideas. And all together means that we are invested in it. And I think when you talk about leaders in the industry and the profession globally, we are here in service of your collective success. So I invite all of you to be leaders in your own communities, articulate purpose and methodologies, not just the how we're going to do something, but the why. And we make the process very accessible through evidence. I'll invite you to read a little article that I wrote based a lot on you saw a picture of Blade Runner earlier, right? It's written, of course, the book behind it is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip Dick. And in it, it talks about, all sorts of futures. And so I entitled an article called Why We Need to Dream of Electric Unicorns. Very much to that whole point earlier, that the small businesses and the creators of the next unicorns, the next big billion-dollar or billion-person impact industries, I should call them impact unicorns. Yeah, affect 1 billion people, and you've got something that is super scalable. And so this technology, all of that, whether it's 1 billion people, 1 million people, or 10,000 people, your ideas and the small businesses enabled by technology becomes an enabler of people, of our communities, and that's going to make us more resilient for the unpredictable horizon ahead. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.